Welcome everybody to another edition of WCW 2005 here in TEW 2020 as it's time for WCW Showdown in the Sun 2005, our first pay-per-view of the year, and the first brand split pay-per-view in this save as it's a Nitro only pay-per-view as we've went over, and it's been a bit of a, one could argue, questionable build-up because I've only had 3 weeks and really 2 weeks. The first week was all draft stuff, but hey, what can you do? Want to avoid having a show the same night as Rumble, obviously. But regardless, before we get to that, of course, I'm going to push the 2004 year-end awards, at least for a couple more weeks here. Got some decent responses so far, but, want some more responses just to get, everybody, even if you haven't, been watching the whole year, just vote for the people, you've enjoyed what you've been watching. Obviously, that would be interesting as well, but, just go out there, follow the link in the description below and, vote for who you think has been the best. For Wrestler, we got Booker, Eddy, Johnny Lawler, Monty Brown, Bravo Damme, Sean Hart, and Shane Helms, all people who have had solid, years, obviously all either world champions. Monty Brown was basically undefeated for the whole year, and Johnny Lawler was the dominant part of the women's division. We have Tag Team of the Year, Alex Wright and Chavo, America's Most Wanted, Jason Jett in London, Mesias Morningstar, and the Silver City Rollers, all 5 tag teams who had very good years. Women's Wrestler of the Year is, of course, Celine Cartier, Gail Kim, Johnny Lawler, Nikita Colt, and Trisha Sky. Match of the year is all these matches, including Eddie Guerrero versus Vampiro for the title at this event last year, Booker versus RVD for the title, Eddie Guerrero versus Booker, where Booker won the title, Vampiro versus Morningstar, and sort of the blow off of that feud after Morningstar and Mesias turned on him, O'Hare versus Booker, O'Hare defended for the title for the first time, Keenan versus Kidman, one match in their big feud, and AJ Styles versus Eddie Guerrero, and Sean O'Hare versus Chuck Palumbo. For Moment of the Year, we've got Los Guerreros and Ray Jr. celebrating with the Mexican crowd, Mesias and Morningstar turning on Vampiro, Booker winning the title from Eddy, Johnny Lawler debuting as wrestler, winning the gauntlet for the title shot, Sean O'Hare calling his shot and winning the world title, Monty Brown sending Goldberg through the WCW structure at Havoc, and Mesias throwing David Flair into the ocean in front of Flair and Sting. Then for Face Character of the Year, we got Celine Cartier, Canyon, RVD, O'Hare, and Sting and Flair. For Heel Character of the Year, we got Booker, Chuck Palumbo, Jarrett, Lawler, and Jonathan Toro. And for Feud of the Year, we got Goldberg versus Brett versus Monty, Johnny Lawler versus the women's division, Canyon versus Kidman, The Chosen Few versus the Horseman Remnants, O'Hare versus Palumbo, O'Hare versus Deadpool, Ravena versus Helms, and Tristan Sky Friends versus Captivation, and then we have the favorite stable. So that's it. Again, just follow the link in the description below and, vote for who you want to vote for. And we're starting Showdown in the Sun with a special pre-show match that was basically probably only advertised to the Mexican audience, as we have in a decent pre-show match a couple of luchadors who don't have jobs at the moment with some of our lower card cruiserweight wrestlers on a pre-show match, as we're in front of 22,000 people at the Palacio de los Deportes, otherwise known as the main stadium. The main actual stadium, Arena Mexico is the main wrestling arena, but the main stadium for actual concerts and such, until the newer stadium was built, was Palacio de los Deportes, and this Universal 2000, Austin Aries and Prince Jose defeat Villanova 4, Matt Sydal, and Pantera in 1502 by 2 falls 1 after losing the first fall, with the final happening when Prince Jose pins Matt Sydal with a butterfly suplex. This is just everybody gets to show stuff, and Jose and Sydal get some in-ring time and around Aries on, at a big show in Mexico, along with some, quasi-legends here, as this gets a 64, El Pantera gets a 57, Matt Sydal gets a 50, Villanova 4 gets a 54, Prince Jose gets a 45, Aries gets a 61, and Universo 2000 gets a 68. And, gimmick changes doesn't really matter because these guys, aren't any big. Well, hold on. Yeah, this is all the debuters. And, this is just because they're here, so why not use them? And then we have our opening video focusing, of course, on the tag team title match, including the Mystery Man, the O'Hare versus Jarrett match for the number 1 contendership, and Ravena versus Helms in a ladder match for the WCW World title in tonight's main event. But first, we have a very special tag match to start out the show. As in a match that's basically announced on WCW.com in the week leading to the event as a special bonus tag match, we've got Yang and Tajiri teaming up to face off against Toland and Leppan, who basically told Bischoff they wanted a challenge. And in this match, it looks like Tajiri and Yang are the high flyers, so they're very good early. Yang gets some high spots, Tajiri gets to get his kicks in, but Toland and Leppan play the heels, good cocky heels along dominant ringside, and they start to work on Yang. Tajiri eventually gets to make the big. Well, no, they work on Tajiri as he just gets beaten down, big slams, suplexes, double teams. Eventually, Yang comes in for the hot babyface fire save, but he also gets taken down very quickly. And it really looks like, it's going to be one for the heels, but Tajiri looks like he's going to, come in, hit some big kicks, and even hit the mist. But the Damme distracts the ref. Yang comes in, who's still the legal man at this point, as Tajiri comes in to do his mist. As, after the ref gets distracted, Toland coming from behind with a shot to the back of Tajiri, knocking him out. Then they hit a double team, both men bring up Yang, and then Leppan hits a sort of modified powerbomb. Then Leppan comes off, then Leppan mockingly does a second rope splash on Yang, and he gets the pinfall victory as Toland hits his big lariat on Tajiri on the outside. And 1, 2, 3, Leppan and Toland get the pinfall win here in a little over 12 minutes. Unfortunately, this, big win for the heels here as they open up Showdown in the Sun in Mexico City with the big win here on pay-per-view. As this match gets a 70, which is shockingly better than I thought, but I forgot they have good chemistry. So Leppan gets a 56, Toland gets a 65, Tajiri gets a 77 because he's great, and Yang gets a 44. Toland and Leppan leave to the, to the booze of the crowd. And as, Tajiri is helping Yang up, Yang pushes him away, and then, Tajiri, puts his hands out, and then Yang basically roundhouse kicks him and knocks him out, and leaves to the boos of the crowd as it looks like he has officially turned heel. So yeah, there we go. And I don't care, trying to go well, but yeah, I mean, you sort of seeing this coming for the past few weeks, even though I haven't officially said it, is that Yang won with having trouble tag matches, losing, and honestly, I figured out a new character for him, and a partner, and an interesting angle to do with them, so hopefully that'll help him be pushed well, as I honestly, Yang has sort of been, not booked that well. I mean, he's sort of been the second tier baby face in the Cruiserweight division, no matter who's up there. Because, now there's TAKA as a champion. Before that, there was Blitzkrieg. And even, after that, I sort of, abandoned Blitzkrieg. But, a big win, a big moment here as Yang turns heel on Tajiri and walks to the back. But another thing here is Leppan and Toland get the win as a tag team. So that'll be interesting what they do from there. Whether they continue to be single stars or they be in a team of a little more after having their alliance at the end of the year to face off against the more hardcore fighters. Next up is another tag match as the Hart Legacy take on the Chosen Few. Of course, these two teams, been fighting on and off, especially, after the events of Starrcade, and then, them being split up on the, being part of the two more prominent tag teams on Nitro, and are now, have been fighting off and on. Hart Legacy team with Sean O'Hare, the Chosen Few teaming with, of course, their leader, Jarrett. And now, they're fighting in a big tag match here as, Jack Evans gets the Screaming Girls pop still, and he gets to fly around. So does, Teddy Hart, as they, go back and forth. They're not quite as over in Mexico as they are in the U.S., but still, but Jindrak and Devine are also pretty dang over. And they're really, they're all really good in the ring. Even Jindrak has gotten, is better than you tell. And storytelling here is basically, they're really working as a heel tag team. Devine gets to be, the cocky, sort of younger heel. Jindrak gets to be sort of a power heel, throwing the Hart Legacy around. But if, Hart Legacy do get their spots, and, Jack Evans gets a good look with a big, just insane, tope to, super, insane, corkscrew plancha to the outside on Jindrak and Devine. But eventually, Jindrak uses Devine is able to basically distract Evans enough to get him to the outside of the ring. Jindrak then, nails, hits a sort of a snake eyes on Hart on an exposed turnbuckle that was exposed by the Chosen Few early in the match. Hits another big move to get the pinfall victory, sort of taintedly, but more because Evans is distracted and can't make the save. And a big one here for Jindrak and Devine as they get the win over former tag team champions in the form of Hart Legacy in a little over 13 minutes as they get the big win here on pay-per-view. And afterwards, we got Devine, overall the match gets a 76, which is honestly better than I thought. Devine gets a 66, Jindrak gets a 74, Evans gets a 75, and Teddy Hart gets a 69. But a big win here for the Chosen Few on pay-per-view. Will this mean that Jarrett also gets no one contendership, or will he fail? We'll just have to see. And yeah, post-match, he'll celebrate to a 66 as the crowd boos as they, carefully walk to the back, not really caring that the crowd is booing because they are the victors here tonight at Showdown in the Sun. Next up is our big WCW Cruiserweight title match as TAKA Michinoku defends the title against Mr. Aguila here on pay-per-view. Of course, TAKA has been the champion here, since winning the Nation Cruiserweight match. Ela Skipper wanted a rematch, but Bischoff told him he'd already given the title shot to a star from Mexico, who is Aguila, who's decently over, was available to sign, and I figured this would be a good way to put him over. Also, honestly, Cruiserweight division sort of needs to build up here. So here, TAKA, and Aguila face off, and it's sort of the match you'd expect. Aguila actually, despite being the local talent here in a sense, plays the, sort of cocky heel here and eventually gets the crowd behind TAKA. But back and forth match, really what you'd imagine Aguila flying around him, planches and topes, getting some cocky heel work, stomping on TAKA doing his own flips, doing his own battles, jerk German suplex, kick to the head, a side moonsault turned into a, power slam, big sort of cutters flying all around. But the problem, Aguila actually goes for a big twisty moonsault from the top, but TAKA gets his knees up, but he goes for the Michinoku driver, but Aguila gets out of it into a reverse ET. The fight continues, but eventually, TAKA gets out of the way of another big move from Aguila off the top rope, and then is able to hit the big Michinoku driver after hitting a big a side moonsault of his own, and gets the 1-2-3 victory to retain the Cruiserweight title here at Showdown in the Sun and make his first defense of the Cruiserweight title here live on pay-per-view in February 2000 at the Palacio de los Deportes in a big win for TAKA. And yeah, this gets a 72. Aguila gets a 70 because he's actually quite over and pretty good. TAKA gets a 59 to build him up. And Aguila's gimmick gets a very good, which, he has only a short contract with us, but still a decent, solid win here, as this gets a 72. And Michinoku is getting better his gimmick, which is also good. And post-pass, TAKA celebrates with the title to a 49. The big win here on pay-per-view for Michinoku, as he, gets his first defense of the title, and now he, has, we'll see who he defends against next. And now, next up, a match which looks in the graphic here like a tag match because of the tights both Lance and Chavo are wearing, but aren't. But okay, so this is a 4-hour match for the television title, and of course it was set up. I mean, okay, I can announce this, this was the person who won the Mayhem Pick'em tournaments choice for a match at the pay-per-view, which I found interesting to book, so good on them. But basically, we set up in the last week here, as first, Jett went to a time match with Chavo, and then Long said he talked to Bischoff to set up a match between Wright and Storm to be added to the match, but they went to a double pin, so both men were added, and now it's a 4-way match with no time limit because it's on pay-per-view, and it's a 4-way match, and you can sort of see how this match would go first, because Wright and Chavo, of course, that's another thing that was I bet was pushed on commentary by both Shadovani and Lawler here is former tag team, and Jett, of course, is part of the successful tag team, but not with Lance, and Lance is on a tag team of his own. But no triumvirate interference in this match, as this is a natural pay-per-view. But it's basically worked as a tag match early, as Wright and Chavo work on both Storm and Jett, and even get some quick near falls in the beginning. But Storm fights back, with his own technical mastery, and Jett gets to play the cocky heel champion. But basically breaking up every possible pinfall. But eventually, Wright and Chavo, Chavo actually hits a big brainbuster, but Tori Wilson, yells at, basically implores Wright to break up the pin, and even though he waits for a second, he still breaks it up before he can get the pin on Storm. Eventually, Wright and Chavo start fighting. It's clean, it's tough battling, but obviously, it is two former tag partners fighting each other. And this allows Storm to come in and try to get his own big one with a super kick. But Jett actually makes his own save for the title here. Things break down, but eventually, Wright actually hits the big single arm DDT on Chavo. It looks like he's going to get the title win, but Jett flies in out of nowhere, throws Wright to the outside, cradles up Chavo, and gets the pinfall victory to retain his title in a match that many would have thought he would have lost it. And here, Jason Jett retains his title once again to make his 12th defense. Yeah, he's made a lot of defenses on Saturday night, but a big one here for Jason Jett. An unfortunate loss for the other competitors, as Jett gets the win here. This gets a 76, Jett gets a 64, Storm gets an 82, Wright gets a 74, and Chavo, who's, I forget, is really good, gets an 86 here. So here's the thing, like, the TV title is too low a title for either of these guys. Like, I appreciate the match, and it was fun to book, but, like, I was never not going to give the win to Jett here. Like, there's somebody who I think I'm going to drop the title to, but it's not any of these guys. And plus, I have my own storyline for all these guys to move forward with. Okay, mostly Wright and Storm, not quite Chavo. I need to figure out what to do to him on the on Nitro, but we'll figure it out on Revolution. But regardless, big win for Jason Jett. He's defends the title, and he's 76. And post match, Jett goes outside, cocky as hell, and post match, Wright gets up, and there's some tension with Chavo. Eventually, that they shake hands and still leave as friends along with Tori, as this gets a 67. So fun stuff. As no heel turn yet, but Tori is really trying to help Alex Wright win some titles here, despite his friendship with Chavo, but they're still all friends and allies here, at least for now. Next up here is a fairly big match set for quickly as last week. Basically, Brother Ray said he wanted a new challenge after finishing his business with Tank Toland a couple weeks ago, and now he called out Goldberg, and Goldberg came and accepted the challenge. Again, it's almost like I only had 2 weeks to really build up storylines or something. But regardless, this is a fairly big match. It's a good opportunity for Brother Ray to try to step up, and it's a way for Goldberg to move on after losing to Monty Brown at Starrcade, and now they're on separate shows. And this is sort of the exact match you sort of expect between these. Brother Ray takes it to Goldberg right away with brawling. Goldberg fights back. He hits his big gut-wrench suplexes and does a couple of his quasi MMA takedowns. Brother Ray fights back with his own brawling and big moves of his own. And big lariat, big suplex, big bombs throws, forearms, match bells to the outside. There's a spear attempt through the barrier, but Brother Ray gets out of the way. He gets to take on offense on the outside a bit. There's almost a table spot, but Goldberg blocks it. Match eventually, spills back inside. Brother Ray goes for his big full Nelson bomb, but Goldberg kicks out at 2.5 because he's freaking Goldberg. Goldberg eventually fights back. Brother Ray goes for another one. Goldberg blocks it. Big move, big gut-wrench suplex, big takedown, spear, jackhammer, clean win right in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3 as Goldberg gets back on his winning ways after a loss to Monty Brown at Starrcade over a very tough competitor in Brother Ray. And yeah, this gets an 79. Brother Ray got a 69. Goldberg got an 80. Selling. Which obviously, not exactly surprised. Oh, and I forgot to create a storyline for these guys. I'm a Warren. Okay, that explains why this was as bad as yeah. Oh, okay, never mind. It wasn't I was so used to this. I was so ready for this to be selling. They didn't click. Okay, well, okay. Behind the Booker's curtain wall here. This was planning to be a setup for kind of a slow burn to a Brother Ray heel turn and eventually a bigger feud in the spring, but since they didn't click, oh well, I'll have to figure out something else for Brother Ray to do as a babyface. So 79, so yeah, this probably, if I had a story, because there was a storyline, okay. If there was a story, if they didn't click, probably could have been an 85 or 86, unfortunately. A post-match, Goldberg celebrates, this gets a 71, and just a strong win for Goldberg as he gets to move on to bigger and better things. And I sort of have, well, no. That would be spoilers, wouldn't it? So yeah, but I have ideas for Goldberg because, of course, remember it's interesting because of the way I have to book him because obviously, throwing the world title, he sort of has to win because he's Goldberg. So I'm sort of I've been trying to figure out again, actually booking in TEW and trying to make it realistic really makes you have sympathy for actual bookers because obviously if Goldberg's thrown against almost any either top guy, even in this version of WCW created, he should win. So trying to figure out ways to not just keep him as the champion forever, but obviously keep him as the figurehead because he sells a lot of merch is a very has been a very interesting thing to do the last year or so in game. But anyway, Goldberg celebrates, and we move on to our next match on the pay-per-view here at Showdown in the Sun. Well, actually, what happens next is, as just put over the, how big a match this is to the Mexican population. First comes out Eddy Guerrero to a giant heel pop, and then we get a special entrance involving El Hijo del Santo basically, a long like history video of like his success here in Mexico, and a big over the top entrance for him as he comes onto the ring, to a big pop as this gets a 76, and a second generation star gets a initial rating of great. And yeah, so losses don't him as much as usual. And then we face off to our next actual match, which is Eddy Guerrero versus El Hijo Del Sento, and a battle of, well, one man's already a legend, and you could argue the other one is a legend as well. And yeah, this match absolutely fucking rules. Honestly, part of the reason it's rules is that we're in Mexico, and Santo is like, he's not quite super over in Mexico, but he's like low 80s, and Eddy is still Eddy, like all over the world. And they're great. They're fantastic. And they just, I mean, like, Eddy gets to play, like, basically he's just now his, oh god, Los Gringos Locos character times a zillion here in Mexico. Like, I can't even imagine him like coming out with like an updated version of his gear from that period. Playing up like maybe with like Texan flags, just so like, because obviously wearing American flags would still get him possibly some get him a face pop from like at least the crowd at home. Santo is a legend, and like the crowd, match actually like starts out like sort of like slow-ish, like as they sort of like feel each other out, like attempts at submissions, takedowns, but eventually like things break down and these guys get to doing the nasty, dirty lucha brawling that's lovely, throwing with some tope, some planchas, fighting on the outside, throwing to the ringside table, brawling up the ramp, back down the ringside, like, back and forth. Santo tries to lock in his holds. He hits several big moves. There are some teases of a tombstone as Santo goes for a side moonsault, but Guerrero catches him in position. Referee like weighs him off because we're under Mexican rules, so pile drivers are illegal. But Santo reverses it and then hits a suplex on Eddy, fights back, gets a false finish early, but eventually like Guerrero hits a low blow, takes over, hits the Blue Thunder Bomb, followed by the Brainbuster, goes up for the Frog Splash. Santo gets his knees up, locks in a submission, but Guerrero fights out of it. Guerrero continues, fight back. Eventually hits another low blow, takes over, hits Santo. Like, Santo goes for a big Dave on the outside. Guerrero gets out of the way as Santo crashes on the sort of guardrail. Eddy hits a big powerbomb on the outside, rolls Santo in, Brainbuster, up top, Frog Splash, 1, 2, 3. Basically clean win for Eddy here. And this match gets a friggin' 95. Santo gets an 81. Eddy gets a 91. Great match. And like, Eddy gets a huge win over Lucha Legend here. And, really gets to, play up, being the cocky heel bastard that he is. And then, of course, because he's Eddy Guerrero, he goes, he pushes the ref away, picks up Santo, and he gets him in position for a marionette, aka for a tombstone pile driver, when popping out of the crowd to a huge pop is Ray Jr., making the save, like basically like, kicking, attacking Eddy from behind to break up the hold. Santo recovers, Eddy, but basically like, backs away, and then Ray and Santo get to play to the crowd, Rancer's put over, Wright is with Revolution, but of course, he has lots of friends in Lucha Libre, and obviously he was here in the back visiting those friends and came out to make the save for his, for a legend in El Hijo Del Sento as it gets to 85. Again, like, this is a Nitro only event, but like, it's Mexico, so I was going to have Ray Jr. at least make an appearance, even if I couldn't do a match. And this makes sense because, like, Ray, is like has connection, so of course he would be here, even if he isn't wrestling. But a big moment here as Ray helps Santo. They get to play the crowd, but Eddy still gets the big win here on pay-per-view. Cut to the back after that as Yang is seen leaving in a limo. So this gets a 12 because, well, it's just Yang showing up. So not the end of the world, but still. We'll have to see who is he leaving with. Interesting. Next up is a huge tag title match as American Most Wanted after winning the tag gauntlet match at Starrcade. Now get a title shot against Deadpool. Of course, Deadpool have been dealing with somebody who's claiming he's trying to break the message. But American Most Wanted, basically saying, you shouldn't look past us. And now this match is on. So this, it's exactly what, AMW are still heels. They get a mixed pop as they come out, as they're facing, the spooky heels. But, they brawl, they fight, but they're facing, Monster heels, Monster heel and, the evil genius leader. So they get some face pop, but, it's sort of a mixed reaction right from the start, as Mesias looks impressive and scary, so of course they'll get a bit of a face pop from some of the crowd. But this is basically a battle, it's a, classic, high work rate type of match when it's either of the AMW in with Morningstar. But when Mesias comes in, he just throws them around. Eventually, AMW team up to battle against Mesias, but it's still really tough for them as, they fight back. Eventually, things, AMW get a few big double teams on Mesias, but eventually he fights back. They get a few big moves on Morningstar and gets some near falls, but Mesias makes a save. Things break down. Mesias throws around both men. But late, there's a ref bump, and then the lights go out, and when the lights come back on, two men, sort of dressed similarly to Mesias with face paint, have him on the outside, and they put him through a table at ringside with a double power bomb. This distracts Morningstar just long enough for AMW to get him from behind, hit their death sentence finisher, and just as sort of and then as the ref sort of wakes up, Storm, 1, 2, 3, pinfall victory. New World Tag Team Champions are American Most Wanted after two mysterious men attack Mesias, leaving Morningstar on his own. So yes, your New World Tag Team Champions are AMW, ending the Mesias and Morningstar run. As you can see, Kill Trash and Wrath Trial, two people from our dev territory, made the attack on Mesias and Morningstar, and if you've seen their sort of pictures, you understand why they're coming up helping this new mysterious man. At least that's what we're assuming. But this gets an 84 as AMW win the tag titles, I believe, for the second time. Mesias gets an 88, Morningstar gets an 87, Storm gets an 81, Harris gets a 77. This, I'm betting, was hurt by the heel stuff. But, that's fine. I took that hit. Yeah, right. Heel. Okay. But still, a huge moment here as AMW win the tag titles and Mesias Morningstar's run ends. And this is how I basically have booked it for a while, ever since Mesias and Morningstar, even before that, because I wanted them, the thing is, I had nothing for them to do at Starrcade, so I came up with the idea for them to be the tag champs, and then I didn't want to, have them, just squash one of our, major teams, and that brought up the Sting and Flair thing, but I knew I wanted them to drop the titles to I didn't want them to, drop them to, some super team, so I figured this out way, and then we have this moment, because there's this new storyline, as Morningstar is, Mesias is, recovering on the outside, because he is a monster, but still getting double pep arm through a table will take you out for a minute. As Morningstar is standing up, a man, still clad, things go, hazy and black for a minute, as a mysterious man enters the ring, clad in, a cloak. He grabs Morningstar from behind, kicks him in the gut, and hits a DDT on Morningstar, taking him out, and then the lights go out, and the mysterious man is gone. Now, this should be a clue to some of you who the mysterious man is, but, and also I bet some of you have already guessed it, but the lights go out, and that mysterious man is gone again, as the announcer is put over. Mesias and Morningstar are now really in the sights of this new man trying to break down the message. They stick at the 79, and now it's time for a couple more matches till, the end of the show. And the next match on the show is the United States title match between Jonathan Toro and The Truth. Of course, The Truth made his debut in WCW, being a shock signing for Nitro, after it looked like he had made an agreement with Teddy Long to be a surprise draft pick, but of course revealed that Eric Bischoff offered him a choice of matches, and he wanted this match against Toro for the US title, and then they've been feuding since then. And, this is Truth gets to look like the hot babyface early. Toro fights back. with his unrated cheating and some power stuff. But this is a very story-based match, sort of really put over Truth as a hot babyface, and Toro as a powerful heel with backup from Swinger and Romeo. And it looks like Truth is going to win, but eventually, basically what happens is near the end, looks like a back and forth really solid match, and it looks like Toro is Truth might actually get the win after he's hit sort of his version of sort of the act. You guys all seen Truth do this on TV. But then Romeo distracts the ref. Swinger gets on the on the outside. Truth goes yell at him. Truth hits the Swinger grabs him, hits basically snaps his neck on the ropes. Truth stumbles around and turns right into the big roaring elbow from Toro, and then 1, 2, 3. Toro retains the title after an interference from Swinger, and he makes defense number 3 of his U.S. title, as this gets a 67. Not the best match, as I put him in for the work of the crowd, even though the crowd really didn't need work. I wanted to set something up. I wanted to make sure. Honestly, I was trying to avoid the crowd getting overheated note again, but sometimes you just have to figure things out. Regardless, Toro gets the win here as he gets a 72. Truth only gets a 60, as he is somebody I have to build to get over, because he was less over than I thought in Nodi, but still, building him up, and also, Toro, the Truth isn't the guy to win the U.S. title from him. But big win for Toro, as he then, oops, spoilers, hold on. About that, spoilers, I hope nobody actually saw the results, but, yeah, big moment here, as Toro retains the U.S. title and celebrates with 67. And now we'll see who is the next man who wants to get a shot against Toro and try to end the Roman Empire. So in the next match, which was spoiled for a second, we have Sean O'Haire versus Jeff Jarrett for the number one contendership. Of course, all of the big stars on Nitro all wanted to say they wanted the next shot at the title. And eventually there was a Perez Incredibles match where O'Haire and Jarrett won, and now they're facing off, and they've been feuding since then. Of course, Jarrett, has come very close to getting his big title shots, losing RVD in a cage match. And then he did, he's been successful since then, and leader of the Chosen Few, where O'Haire, lost the title thanks to interference from his former opponent Chuck Palumbo, and then, has been feuding with Palumbo, losing at pay-per-view. But so that's sort of the match setup, and these guys really go after each other. But unfortunately, there's a little bit of clunkiness as O'Haire's power and Jarrett's Cellar Brawling doesn't quite click in a way, and there's some little bit of miscommunication out as workers, not wrestlers. So it's a little stunted, but still pretty, really fantastic heat though, as Jarrett is surprisingly one of our top heels still, and O'Haire is one of our top baby faces. And midpoint of the match, O'Haire goes for the Widowmaker, but O'Haire basically openly pokes him in the eye to get out of it, comes back in, walks in the figure 4. O'Haire powers out of it. He hits some big moves, and O'Haire hits the big boot on Jarrett. He hits the then goes for the Widowmaker again, but Jarrett reverses into a DDT. And it really looks O'Haire is Jarrett then hits the stroke, but O'Haire kicks out basically 2.8. O'Haire powers back, but then basically is what happens here is there is a ref bump, and then Chuck Palumbo comes in from the crowd, hits O'Haire with the full throttle, cockily poses for a second, then pops back in through the crowd. Jarrett grabs O'Haire, hits the stroke, 1, 2, 3, and Jeff Jarrett is your new number one contender, thanks to Chuck Palumbo from Revolution interfering against his former natural born thrower ally. And yeah, unfortunately, they did not click, so this gets an 81. O'Haire got a 69, Jarrett only got a 64 because of the lack of clicking, but at least the storyline was helped out. So yeah, but this is unfortunate. I mean, the idea was always for Jarrett to win, but I hope they actually clicked, and that's sort of that's unfortunate, both for any continuation of this feud and just in general. But hey, what can you do? Sometimes this happens. But a big one for Jeff Jarrett, as he is now in line for the next title shot, possibly against whoever wins the world title match here in just a moment. But a big moment here as Jarrett basically rolls. Basically what we see here is Palumbo then, like, at the top of the ramp, mocking O'Hare as Jarrett celebrating, and O'Hare is very upset in the ring. Like, basically kicking the rope, pushing the ref away, staring down his former friend at the top of the ramp as a crowd boos, as this gets an 83. And yeah, just a big moment here as Palumbo has screwed over O'Hare once again. So, I mean, you can make the argument that Palumbo is directly responsible for the last 3 big matches O'Hare's had, and all 3 of his losses. As, O'Hare lost the title against Helms because of outside interference. Then, Palumbo had to cheat, had to use, the big chain to go over the win over O'Hare at Starrcade, and now he's cost O'Hare the win versus Jarrett here at pay-per-view. So I'm sure, despite them being on different shows, Shinader's going to be very upset tomorrow night on Nitro. And then it's time for our main event. And one could imagine the blow-off of this feud as Rob Van Dam faces Shane Helms in a ladder match for the WCW World title on the line. A huge match here. And they go out at each other. And they both are very, very, very good in this match. Like, they're flying over. They're killing each other. Both Van Dam and Helms, like, takes big bumps. I imagine, like, Van Dam going off the top rope for the 5-star block splash on the Helms, who's on a table. Helms hitting, like, trying to, like, hitting a sunset flip powerbomb onto a ladder. Both been killing each other, throwing each other around. Ladder bumps, suplexes, high-flying stuff. Both trying to climb the ladder of success here on pay-per-view and win the match in front of this crowd at the sold-out Palacio de los Deportes. But unfortunately, their work rate is really good, but the storyline heat is not quite there. So, like, Super Pro Wrestling, great heat, but unfortunately, the match isn't quite as good as I wish it was, which is really unfortunate. But in the end, like, the actual finish here is near the end of the match. Reno comes down to interfere and help Reno Helms, of course, because they're on the same show and they're still together. But Reno actually accidentally, like, goes for a big spear, but RVD gets out of the way, and Helms gets speared into the ladder. That isn't the end of the match, as Helms eventually makes a comeback. But eventually, RVD sends Helms, like, they're both fighting at the top. Helms sends, like, Helms off the ladder to the outside, grabs the title, the ladder falls over, and then RVD falls to the mat, holding the title, retaining the title here on pay-per-view. But yeah, like I said, unfortunately, this gets an 80 only. RVD gets an 87. Shane Helms gets an 87, so RVD gets a 92. So this should have been like an 88, 89. And if we look for the reasons, like, the match was hurt. So we have fatigued. RVD was fatigued, which is unfortunate. Like, RVD's low morale. So, and then poor announcing and low heat of a storyline. So I'm guessing also the poor announcing hurt it a bit. But again, really, really good match. Like, awesomely good match. But just was hurt by the low heat. But then, post-match, RVD celebrates with the title, as the announcers really put him for as, like, the face of WCW at the moment. And a man who has ended his, like, confrontation with Shane Helms, still WCW World Champion. And overall, the show itself gets an 83. Okay. Honestly, a little disappointing. But, okay, so we're going to give it... first, we're going to give it to Eddy. We're going to give to Tajiri because he probably helped make that opening tag title match great. And honestly, Morningstar, because you did great. So yeah, honestly, I'm kind of disappointed in that show, like, especially the main event. Honestly, yeah, unfortunately, both my big matches sort of screwed the pooch there. The low heat of the title match, plus, I guess, announcing. Maybe I should throw Hudson back on, because the problem is, like, Hudson is not that great announcer, but he and Schiavone have good chemistry, so that'll probably help on pay-per-view for the future. But the other big thing is, yeah, honestly, Guerrero Del Santo should have been the semi-main event. The show's still getting fantastic reviews, which is hilarious considering I'm, like, being annoyed over an 83. OVW had their big match. That's interesting. Let's see here. Okay, I mean, yeah. Well, look, Slim next month, so you guys should be happy. Both of you guys. We did gain a talent point, so there's a thing. Buy rate, I mean, we still got, like, you know, a huge buy rate, so that's good. TAKA's contract is ending because, like, he's a freelancer. Let me actually look at my broadcasting real quick. So Sky One, they wanted a okay, so we were off by a point literally in both. Okay, I mean that shouldn't happen. Like we should not have like two scorable rolls like that as far as like things being over. But regardless, and then so if we look at our user points, oops, user jobs. There we go. Okay, so honestly. Let's see here. Negotiating. Yeah. Talents, motivating is, yeah. High. Creativity, leadership. I don't care. Diplomacy is, yeah. I mean. So honestly, I really think the best thing here is still, like, creativity. But we also have a reputation of 87, which is good. But yeah. A really, like, honestly, like, I'm sort of disappointed, but that's still a really, like, solid show. Like, not, like, our best show, obviously, but size-wise, like, we're still hitting 86s. Mexico's, we actually, like, still increased, so that's good. Looking at some roster-wise, let's see here. Resetting to only people on Nitro. So looking at some people, like, popularity-wise, Goldberg, like, increased a point or so there. Let's see here. Who did Chavo get hurt by losing? Survey says not a little bit, but like nothing huge. He'd be rebuilt. Eddy Guerrero. I mean, Eddy's Eddy. Like he's like actually like since like he's like actually the hilarious thing is like he's like way more over than he ever was as champion, which means like him like changing his body and turning heel is the best thing for him. Del Sento. I'm just wondering like how over did he get from just winning? Okay, so he's actually solid. Like I'm probably not going to use him on in the US at all, but still like not bad there. Let's see here. Anybody else of note? Jarrett. Let's see here. Jarrett's like insanely over. Like, let's see here. O'Hare. Yeah, O'Hare. I've kind of hurt the last couple ones because of losing, so he'll need to be rebuilt backups partially. Shane Helms is Shane Helms. Like he's unfortunately not that great. Not that over. TAKA. Did you get help by getting over? Okay. So big win here over Aguila helped them out. And the truth is slowly but surely getting over on TV. And we're talking about people who don't have any brand. So first, Jason Jett. Jett's like almost up to the 70s, so that's good. Toro. Toro's Toro, like he's solidly over. If we look at Rob Van Dam, our world champion. Not quite like a top guy like Goldberg, like not quite the number one guy, but getting there. And yeah, officially making the review is Killswitch and Wrathchild, who are now on TV, and they're the friends of our mysterious man, who I'm not going to show because there's some stuff to make it obvious. And then, yeah, creative-wise, it's RVD, it's Goldberg, it's Eddy, it's Ray Jr., it's Kane, especially imagine. Title-wise, again, Cruiserweight champion is still TAKA. US champion is still Jonathan Toro. World TV champion is still Jason Jett. And World new three-time World Tag Team Champions are Marcus Wanted. And still World Champion is Rob Van Dam. Storyline-wise, as far as Nitro, let's see here. Cruiser stuff's up to 72. A lot of successes. Okay, 77. So I guess, yeah, if I would have gotten up above 80, probably would have helped out. The tag feud's at a 73. The Eddy Del Sento Canyon feud's at a 90. Goldberg Brother Ray's at a 79. And Truth and Consequences at a 67. O'Hare Palumbo with Jarrett in there temporarily is at an 81. And Against the Darkness is at an 80. And the TV title stuff is at a 76. So fun stuff. So yeah, that's where we are. Again, like, not our best pay-per-view, but sort of like, again, there's going to be some growing pains with this being a split thing. I mean, but honestly, like, that would have been a great pay-per-view if either of the main event matches would have clicked. But, you know, not the end of the world. shit happens. What can you do? That's all for now. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and leave a like. Comment below what you're liking, non-liking, and of course, follow the link and vote in the year-end awards. And subscribe to the channel for plenty of TEW 2020 content like this and my New Japan 2004 save, along with maybe some other stuff. But that's all for now, so talk to you later, and adios. Have a good one.